Hey everyone, welcome to Koopa Kast number 75, Uncharted Territory Redo, or Redux, something like that. Anyway, it's number 75, and I'm your host, Matt, the multimedia manager of PNM and Purenintendo.com, your independent source for all things Nintendo. I am joined by two other people, Justin Sharp,
Hey everyone.
Alex Schreibke,
What's up, everybody?
and if you couldn't tell by that third word, it means we are revisiting this topic. We talked about Uncharted Territory before. What is quality of life going to do? What is their mobile stuff going to do? But now we're back with more interesting Nintendo news, such as Shigeru Miyamoto talking to Fortune magazine about opening up to the possibility of seeing their IP on a more passive medium, such as TV and film. And, I mean, it's been such a great success in the past, in the 90s. I think we can all think of some great examples off the top of our head.
Absolutely.
So we're definitely going to start with this one before we move on to the businessy part of the optical disc drive. So, what did you guys think? Did you guys were you surprised at this at all, or were you kind of suspicious, like say when the Netflix rumor started up months back?
Well, I didn't believe the Netflix rumors for an instant. I was like, that's like way too out of left field. And I'll be honest, I don't think The Legend of Zelda would translate in a movie. I don't know. I think it would be hard to do. Link is such like a silent protagonist that like giving him a voice would just sound weird, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wasn't necessarily surprised by it because I think even Iwata said like a year and a half ago, that Nintendo was going to get more aggressive with their IPs and more licensing and stuff like that. So I think it makes sense what they're doing. Trying to eventually get into some movie type things. And the fact that Miyamoto did some Pikmin stuff, I think he's toying with some ideas.
Oh, that's right. He did do the Pikmin stuff, that little mini series, right?
Yeah, I think that was 3D animated. I think.
I believe so. Yeah.
And I mean, Nintendo obviously dabbled with some licensing very early on. Like if you think about like comic books, and look at like the success of like comic book movies now. I mean, how old are comic books, guys? I mean, comic books. I mean, Superman's been around for 75 years now. I mean, it's only been recently that they've seen like very good success. I mean, the Superman movies in the 70s and 80s were, I guess, would be successful for their time, but it's only been recently that those have been doing well. I think like Nintendo, video games were so young, and Nintendo had been in America for so little of a time, and then Wizard and Mario Brothers came out within like 5 or 6 years of even being in the U.S. I mean, it was pretty quick. So I'm glad that they've taken some time, taken a hiatus. I think that whatever they do movie-wise would do a lot better, way better nowadays. 3D animation movies do really well, and I think that'd be a nice medium for Nintendo.
Yeah, I think we're at a perfect time frame for it too, because you think about it, you have a generation of younger kids who are growing up and learning about it, and then you have like the adults who grew up on it and love it. So now it's like both kids and adults can go see this movie. There's like a wider audience for it, for both comic books, and video games. So it's kind of just that perfect time where it's like a movie for everybody, and it's more popular, more mainstream than maybe it was in the 90s.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like geekier things are more mainstream now. The comic book movies, for instance, or comic books, video games, are kind of all geeky hobbies, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess geeky things can succeed, but I just kind of wonder if Nintendo's IPs can succeed in this new medium. Because I'm trying to think of all the IP in which the characters talk, and only Star Fox really comes to mind.
Well, it's funny because like for me, when I think of like a Nintendo movie, the first thing that comes to mind is like a Metroid movie.
Yeah, I was actually thinking Metroid would be a good one.
Because there's such like a really good atmosphere with those games, and there's so much lore and stuff that you could explore and it's easier to give Samus a voice because even in the games they've been starting to do that. So I think you have a lot to work there as far as telling a passive story, but bringing in all of the elements of the game, like the environments and and the feeling of isolation. So you can do that with movies. So to me, if they were going to make a movie, go with the Metroid series first.
Mhm. And I think, especially if they did like a live-action movie, Metroid would translate the best to that. I mean, Star Fox. I mean, like you could do like puppets, or I mean, it may not translate very well. I mean, even Mario in real life, we've seen what happens there. I mean, it's
We were talking about it was a great success.
yeah, great success.
It only took 12 writers like 9 scripts and a lot of scotch to get through it all.
Yeah.
It's a bomb.
Yeah, so I think, and Metroid, I think they could do really well. Now, obviously, people are going to mention the elephant in the room, which is Metroid Other M, where they did give Samus a voice, and too much of a voice most of the time.
A
But
very boring elephant in the room.
yeah, but I think they can do a Metroid really well. Metroid Other M side.
Is this the third podcast in a row where I've talked crap on Metroid Other M?
You mostly talk crap on all Nintendo games so far, but
Oh, okay.
It's a new record. Let's keep it going.
It's called the voice of reason. I'm the counterbalance.
yeah. See, we need that. We need that. We need that good buffer. We can't just be talking about ourselves like, yeah, Nintendo's great. Yes, it is great. Yes.
I'd also like to point out that I gave Splatoon a 9.
Hey, there you go. That's good.
Very nice.
You gave a game deserving of a high score. Kudos.
Mm-hmm. So, but we're off the beaten path already.
That's what we do.
Yes.
I try to think of like, how are movies made, and how like Nintendo can go on with these things. And I don't think movie is the right way to go, simply because I was reading an article and I think it was Warren Spector, and he was talking about the differences between like games and movies, and that movies the writers have to get their story out in like 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
But with like say like games, like he was arguing for episodic games, but it's like games and like TV shows, they have much more room to kind of tell this over, arcing storyline, kind of like more room to build characters and create and mold. So that's why I think TV would be a much better avenue for Nintendo.
Yeah, something episodic would be cool. And like the Netflix rumor, I would love to see Nintendo collaborate with with a big company like Netflix for something. The Zelda part of that rumor was always the hard part for me to believe, but I feel like they could do something episodic with Netflix or Amazon or whoever. I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of potential to get Nintendo's IPs out there more and more. I mean, like look at something like Angry Birds, for instance. I mean, we all know Angry Birds is just like such a marketing, blitz at kids. They got all these little mobile games that they're playing. Then they've got all these little plush toys. They've got lunch boxes, backpacks. I mean, you know what they're doing. They're just going after the kids, and like my nieces and nephews have got like Angry Birds stuff all over the place, right? I mean, Nintendo, if they want to get their characters out there more, do some of that stuff. I think there's like an Angry Birds movie or something in production now, and it's coming out next year. So
that's going to have a riveting plot, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure it's gonna. Yeah, I'm sure it's just gonna be like riveting. But
I'm gonna look that up.
Yeah, but I feel like Nintendo, if something is vapid as Angry Birds can get that kind of support, I think you could easily do a Mario Brothers 3D animated movie, or something.
Well, what if they went back into comic books? They used to have some pretty awesome comics in Nintendo Power.
Yeah.
Like, what if they partnered with Marvel or something and did, you know, I don't know how often comics were released, but you had like your issues, just like you would go in to get your Batman comics and Spider-Man comics and everything every couple of weeks, like, oh, this is the new issue of the Metroid magazine or the Legend of Zelda or even like Mario.
That would be cool.
Mm. Just because they got the reprinting now on Amazon of the Link to the Past comic that I used to print, and that's like awesome if you haven't seen it.
Yeah.
I'd recommend picking that up. So it's like, I think they would be right at home in like comic book pages.
Yeah, definitely. I think they could do a lot with what is it? Star Wars has been doing a lot just across several different mediums. Like, I think Disney owns Marvel and Star Wars now, but they have Marvel comics. I think that are leading up to the new Star Wars movies, and they're doing books, and they have the TV show Star Wars Rebels, leading up to the movies and everything. So I feel like Nintendo could do a bunch of different types of things. Not necessarily one thing at one time. They could have a comic book going at the same time as leading up to some TV show or something or some new game. And Nintendo has shown that they have, they've done some great quality animation in some of their games. Like Smash Brothers comes to mind. Like even in Brawl, like the Subspace Emissary cutscenes were really well done, I thought. So I feel like they could, and the new Smash Brothers Wii U trailers were incredible. The ones they included on disc, where they announced the different characters. I don't know, it would be like some sort of like a Smash Brothers game might even work, where you have like just this crossover of all of Nintendo's universes, and they're fighting the Subspace Emissary, or whatever common bad guy you want. But I think I've mentioned this before, so I'm just repeating myself.
So now I'm really curious. There was that one Kirby TV show that came on. Was it Kirby Right Back at You?
Oh yeah.
I'd actually be really curious to see like how well like that did, because from what I remember, it wasn't that bad of a TV show. It looked pretty decent as far as like animation wise goes. I'm really curious about that.
I don't remember watching that one much. I remember seeing like the Sonic show. I think they do have a new Sonic one with Boom or something. I haven't seen
yeah.
that.
Yeah, but I think that's done by a separate studio.
Oh, okay.
I couldn't tell you actually how those old cartoons did. I think I skipped that generation.
Yeah.
Too old.
And like I remember seeing like the Zelda cartoons from the early '90s and the Mario Brothers cartoons, and I think we all hold some sort of nostalgia to those. But as far as like the younger generation nowadays, they've got like pretty amazing 3D animated TV shows now, or even even nicer looking 2D animated shows. I don't think they would feel the same pull with stuff like that. It'd be nice if Nintendo did have
Excuse me, Princess.
Yeah, it sounds like we need to get some kids together and make them watch these old videos and see what their reactions are.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a YouTube video of it somewhere. Kids watching the original Mario Brothers Super Show and all that stuff. They'd be like, people watch this? This is lame.
Yeah.
They're like playing on their iPhones.
Kids these days.
No respect.
Don't they know who Lou Albano is?
Yeah.
The late great Lou Albano.
Yeah.
I think I still hold on to my TV thing. I don't know about any other comics because I think, you were talking about the multi-platform idea, Justin. And I kind of wonder if Nintendo might not do that simply because of the way they handle their games, which is each game is part of like a larger series, but they're also their own isolated experience. Like, I can play Wind Waker, but I wouldn't have to have had played Link to the Past to get Wind Waker, or even like Ocarina of Time to play Wind Waker. Like, they make references here and there, but it's like, I think those are there just to please the fans or whatever. But, each is its own encapsulated experience. Yeah. And I feel like Nintendo would probably handle, like, cross-media series in the same way. Like, you won't have to read the comic to enjoy the TV show or watch the TV show to enjoy the movie.
Hmm. Yeah, they're supplemental experiences, and they will add some value, but no one's missing out if they don't check it out or whatever.
Right, yeah, and that's definitely something like Nintendo really strives to not do, is to leave people out.
Yeah, they don't want to. Like, I mean, same thing with their DLC approach. It's been pretty inclusive, I would say, and not, locking off core features in DLC. And obviously Splatoon's an awesome example of just, hey, we're going to add lots of new features for free after the fact. But, I was going to mention something. Oh, that philosophy of Nintendo kind of, grabbing little bits and pieces of like previous games, but still making them like their own experiences. Reminds me of like the Star Trek series. Like there's different series of them. You got original, Next Gen, Voyager, Deep Space Nine, Enterprise, but they all do a good job of being kind of their own thing, just a part of like a bigger universe, right? Like you don't have to watch the original series to enjoy Next Gen or the later on ones. There might be like references to events that happen that you may not get, but that's really just for the fans anyway. You can still enjoy the show just as well. I like that approach.
Hmm. And what genres do you think they should go for? Because like, I don't know, I'm going through it over and over in my head, and it's like, if they're putting something on like as like a movie or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
All I see is they're either going to rehash something we've already played before, or it's going to be a new experience, and we're going to go, oh man, that'd be great to play.
Yeah, that'd be awesome in the game. Yeah, that is a good point, Matt, because Nintendo's known for doing quality things. So if that quality does carry over to their movies, then are people going to be pining for, hey, I want a game just that, exactly based on that, or it could create like a reverse vacuum type of effect.
Right. And of course, this is all speculation in terms of Nintendo has a lot of control over what's going on in the production studio.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't even thought about the route of Nintendo just outsources it to another studio, and they use the IP, but they come up with their own story.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, it sounded like they wanted to be more directly involved with it, where everything would have to be like run by and approved by them, and it sounds like there would be like more communication. That way, like the quality we expect from Nintendo kind of carries over. Because we know what happens when the movies run rampant.
Yeah, and I feel like that's probably the smartest approach. Just for video game movies in general. It's so often that they're like, hey, that's a cool game. Let's create a movie that's based nothing on it, except for the name, maybe, So, and I feel like that's what happened with like the Mario Brothers movie. Nintendo is like, hey, we can make some money real quick with licensing this out. This is a studio that's done some good stuff in the past. Sure, do it. And look what happened. So maybe they'll. I would also kind of chalk that up to the probably the cultural disconnect between Japan and America. Hollywood and Japan like making movies, and maybe just even the communication gap. I mean, can you imagine like Nintendo like flying out to LA, trying to coordinate things? It just doesn't seem that feasible nowadays. With instant communication platforms like this, with video communication, I mean, Nintendo could have their hands more involved and still be, thousands of miles away, and
I disagree with that. They need to be right there on the set.
Yeah.
Because you could sink a lot of crap through in production and just go, here's a quick broadcast. Hey, look, we're doing great. Here are the dailies that we're only going to show you, but here's the rest of the film,
Yeah. That's true, but I mean, Nintendo could do a lot. Had people on the ground there too, making sure things are going smoothly too. But
they better have people on the ground if that's going to happen.
Yeah, I kind of wonder. The Pokemon movies have always done really well, and I assume most of those are done in Japan, right? They come out in Japan first.
I guess so. I totally forgot about that. You said Pokemon movie. I'm thinking like, was there a live action Pokemon movie?
Yeah.
There's like a ton of animated movies.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's
those
like-
always are made in Japan and released first.
But those are run through the Pokemon Company, not Nintendo, right?
Yes, they are done through the Pokemon Company. So I don't, and the Pokemon Company may work with some studio there, but I feel like if Nintendo wanted to get involved and find a studio, they would probably do something kind of off the wall. They're not going to pick something that Americans would see as a natural choice. Like, oh, they're going to do Netflix? All right, hey, they did Arrested Development and, House of Cards, all this other stuff. Nintendo's just going to go to, like, Studio Ghibli or, someone that's popular there in Japan that has a really good studio. And I'd be all for that.
You're right. You bring up a good point, which is we're all thinking that they're just going to go straight to Hollywood, when they probably won't. They might not even leave the country for their stuff.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I mean, it's like they could easily build it all in Japan and then just distribute it. Then you just have people localizing voices, or that would be the ideal approach, maybe from their perspective. But
Man, could you imagine like a themed Studio Ghibli a movie? How amazing that would be.
yeah,
Just let that thought sink into your head for a moment.
let that go in a little bit.
I got to be honest. I haven't seen really any Studio Ghibli movies.
What?
That's
Stop
all
this
right.
podcast right now.
We'll ban him from now on. Too.
I'm the host. I'll ban you. I'll have my own podcast. It's just me talking to me.
They are some pretty good movies. And I love the animation style too. Most of Miyazaki's movies just have a lot of emotion and depth to them, to the characters, and I feel like Nintendo would like that a lot, especially if they were trying to do a movie like that. Or
They
something.
basically kept the spirit of Disney 2D animation alive.
Pretty
in a
much.
way.
Yeah.
You know what would be a good testing ground for Nintendo and that kind of stuff? Kid Icarus.
Yeah.
Because they haven't. There's only 2 Kid Icarus games out there, right?
No.
And there's already, but there's some stuff out there. There's 3.
Yeah. There were two games. Wasn't the second one on the Game Boy?
Oh yeah, you're right. Was it a Myths and Monsters or something?
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people don't remember that one. Like when Kid Icarus Uprising came out, they're like, "Oh, it's finally a sequel." I was like, "Well, it's sort of had a sequel way back." But,
So they've had 3 games. 2 from the 90s, 80s, and then 1 recently. And they have enough for like a world. They've already built a world, right?
yeah.
But they don't have much lore or anything else going on.
Mhm.
Or at least not much in comparison to like the normal IPs like Legend of Zelda, or Metroid, or Star Fox. So they already have a lot. They have like a lot of space to breathe and to like experiment with different plot lines to see how that goes.
Yeah.
Because they could do a lot of stuff, and fans aren't going to go, oh well, that contradicts this plot right here in this game, or this contradicts this plot in this game.
Mhm.
So I figured, if they want to test it with like one of their IPs that they haven't touched much. So Kid Icarus, again Star Fox, because there's only been like, oh okay, there's been more than 2 considering up the new one. So yeah, just start with Kid Icarus and go from there.
I could see that one being an animated cartoon series.
Yeah.
Real easy, especially with the way they've gone, like character direction wise. How it's more kind of like goofy and silly in Uprising.
Mhm.
That would definitely fit into like a cartoon setting like perfectly.
Oh yeah. I actually really enjoyed the, kind of the character's monologue as he's going through in Uprising. I thought they did a good job with the, talking with the enemies, and it played pretty fun. They kept it pretty lighthearted.
Which is exactly Nintendo style, lighthearted.
Yep.
Until Metroid and some iterations of Zelda.
Yeah. Yeah. Other M, I think Team Ninja got the best of them there, but. I do think that potentially Platinum Games, and we'll see how Star Fox turns out. I still can't believe that's coming out before Xenoblade, and we've seen so much about Xenoblade. You know, and like we don't know nothing about like Star Fox's story. Or I'm gonna get off on a tangent.
Well, technically, Xenoblade already came out just in Japan.
That's true. Yeah, you make a fair point. But even like, it just I don't know. Like, and all the most of the levels we've seen so far, like Star Fox 64 demo levels in HD, and anyways. But I feel like Platinum. My point was that Platinum Games has shown that they can do really well with like action games, and like Bayonetta and Bayonetta 2 have some of the best cutscenes and you know, action set pieces and in recent memory, whether that's movies, TV shows, or video games. They did a great job with it. So.
Yep. And Bayonetta really is the lighthearted, family-oriented series that Nintendo is always looking for.
I know. It's the one they need to strive for.
No innuendos in there at all.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
You guys have seen that? It's like a animated GIF or something. But I think they like spliced together an actual Nintendo commercial, and it shows these kids with like a whiteboard or something.
Oh yeah.
And it's like why we need a Wii, or why we need to get a Wii, or something like that. And then the parents are sitting on the couch, and so they're like, hey, why do we need to get a Wii U? And blah blah blah. They listen to these points, and then you see on the TV like the Bayonetta 2 like crotch shot come on the TV, and the parents are like, you know.
Well, Dad is sold.
Yeah, that's all.
I'm just going to keep us rolling along here because we got a few more topics here.
Yes. Yeah.
Let's talk about that patent that just came out. Stationary console, no optical disc drive.
I'm totally okay.
This one's got me so puzzled.
I'm totally okay with this, guys. Okay.
Well, first I'm going to talk about it on the premise that it could be a standalone console. And then we can go on to it because Alex and I were talking about it before the Koopa Kast, and I think we've come to an idea of what it possibly could be and how it would make sense.
Yeah.
Now, if it's a standalone console with no disk drive at all, and then at that point there's two possibilities. Either it's like using little cards or cartridges or whatever, or it's all through your internet. And if it's all through internet, that's a terrible idea. It was a terrible idea when we thought Xbox One was going to do it. It was a terrible idea when Xbox One wanted to have you online all of the time, but you can still buy some physical discs. So it would be a disaster if this new console was online only.
Well, I don't think Nintendo would do that. If it's a digital storage system, you could download the game and play it offline for sure. I don't see Nintendo doing the Xbox One online only approach.
Right, but it's still the internet that's still the obstacle. Because I have okay internet, you have okay internet, Alex has okay internet, most of Japan has okay internet. That guy in Kansas, he still has dial-up for some reason because that's all he can get out there is dial-up.
Right.
What's he gonna do?
I do see Nintendo offering some sort of a. And I think if you look at the patent, they mentioned some sort of a card slot or something. Do you remember?
Yeah, there's an SD card slot, I think.
Yeah, and it may be that I know in like some early patents they showed like a handheld with an SD card slot that could have eventually just been a moniker for the 3DS cards, right? Because the 3DS cards are modified. Type of an SD card or new type of a cartridge, so to speak.
They're SD-esque.
Yeah, so I could see Nintendo perhaps if we go with the theory that Nintendo's doing some sort of like a hybrid mobile console system. You would still have maybe physical copies that you could buy, but you would still the majority of the system would just be played. You download your games or whatever. I think the benefit to having cards or cartridges, whatever you want to call them, is that they are solid state, and solid state memory is getting a lot cheaper now. I mean, you look like flash drives. I mean, they have like 64 gig flash drives that fit almost flush into your USB port now. I mean, with storage like that, you're getting to the point where optical medium is just not practical anymore. So I don't know. I see it as kind of inevitability, but and I'm all for it since I'm already digital. But.
Yeah, but well, I got no argument on that actually. I mean, if solid state drive does turn out to work, then I'm for it too.
Yeah.
Just as long as it's, we're not raising the price of the games that we're buying.
Yeah.
Because the technology has not caught up yet or something.
Yeah, because I think they can easily do like a super cheap USB flash like pluggable media, right, for a game that you can buy physically at a brick and mortar store, and still make it secure or whatever, so it's not piratable or whatever their problems are with that. So they can still do something like that, but I think the majority of people will, if they don't have an optical drive, they're just going to choose, hey, I can just download it, cool. But I don't think Nintendo is going to make something exclusively that way without having some sort of option. But who knows?
Well, it is interesting to note that one of the points was that it would be able to connect to another gaming apparatus with an optical drive. So I'm wondering if that's hinting to backwards compatibility with the Wii U.
Interesting.
Not to mention that the controller itself, they specified that's supposed to have a game screen on it.
Yeah.
So it can display images on that instead of the TV.
Yeah.
And both of those would be compatible with the idea that Iwata presented way back when he talked about the NX was going to complement the 3DS and the Wii U.
Yeah. And I do think that this goes back what I was mentioning about the Wii U several times, that I feel like the Wii U is a stepping stone system. The reason you don't see Nintendo lowering the price drastically to try and sell Wii U's, or any of that stuff, they're playing a long game here. They want to just let the games speak for themselves. Let the off TV experiences resonate with people, and the next system will further reinforce it, I think. And I think that's where a lot of people have made that assumption that it's going to be some sort of a handheld console hybrid. You have some new system, new handheld that can be played completely, on the go, come back to the system. And you know what? That would kind of make sense if this patent is for the new handheld, which is also a controller for the new system. I mean, potentially, if it's backwards compatible with the Wii U, you can hook up Bluetooth to the Wii U, no problem, right? And then you could use the optical disk drive to boot up games, and they could use the new handheld system to stream the Wii U games directly to the handheld.
So what's all the talk about the stationary game apparatus?
I mean, it could be that it has another, like a base station or something, because some of what the theory surrounding the handheld console thing is you would have something that would maybe boost your performance or give you some extra horsepower when you're at home. Some sort of a console standard system. Maybe it's just essentially just a storage where it stores your games, and then you have your little handheld system, bring it in, sync it up, play the games. I don't know, but this is all just speculation. But Nintendo's always done backwards compatibility, at least since the GameCube. Well, the GameCube wasn't backwards compatible with 64, but with the Wii, backwards compatible with the GameCube, Wii U backwards compatible, DS, 3DS, Game Boy Advance, they set that precedent there. So I would think they would at least support the Wii U games with better systems.
I wonder how. Yeah, I just wonder how far they're gonna leap forward in terms of technology then, because it sounds like the way we're going, this new NX might not be any more powerful than the Wii U is now.
Why would you think that?
It's just more of a. It's like they're focusing on other things. I don't know. I'm really just like thinking out loud as it comes to my brain.
Yeah, no, I can see what you're saying as far as like if they were to focus, let's say, on the handheld, to make sure that they can make experiences on the handheld match up with what's on their new console and make it kind of its own, it's one system, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then maybe it's not visually that much better than the Wii U, maybe. And then maybe the I don't know, the base station or whatever the console is gives you, anti-aliasing or the ability to play, games in a little higher fidelity. I don't know, but I don't know. I feel like I got to experience the Vita with the remote play. One of my cousins, he's got a PS4, and he was showing me one game on his Vita. He was like, "Hey, let me see if I can connect to my PS4." It connected up pretty quick, and he was playing games there on his Vita, and it's using probably the Gaikai service that Sony bought, and it's not the greatest. I mean, there's still like compression artifacts and stuff, but the frame rate is able to keep up at like 60 frames per second or whatever the game runs at, and it just like subtly adjusts the quality. But it's kind of cool because people will kind of give up a little bit of that just to be able to play some of these massive games on the go. So maybe Nintendo is working on some sort of solution to that. I know with the Wii U, they're like, hey, you can only do it with within 30 feet because we wanted to make sure the connection was super fast, there wasn't any input lag, and I think they did an awesome job with that on the Wii U. But I think people are willing to take some of that, not necessarily input lag, but artifacts or compression or something to stream and be able to get that content wherever they are. I don't know.
Well, I believe I read
still love the
somewhere.
quality. But, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I believe the controller is supposed to have a processor in it as well. I don't know if that's significant at all. That might just be for handling the video on the screen.
Well, that might lead credence to that it is its own system. Like the controller is a handheld device, because I'm pretty sure the Wii U, it probably doesn't even have a processor on the controller itself. It would just need something to render basic visuals onto the screen, or a wireless chip to be able to relay that. But if this new controller does have its own CPU and/or GPU built in, then it's pretty much like what a 3DS would be. It would be able to handle its own processing, its own games.
I just want to point out that that's speculation, because I had to weave through a lot of legal mumbo jumbo in their patent thing. So don't take that as 100% fact, folks.
Yeah, we're really kind of just talking all based off of one patent article.
One very long patent article.
And the patent writing in general is just so...
It's very repetitive, and then you get lost in the repetitiveness.
And like it's kind of like deliberately non-specific,
Yeah, it's got to be as vague as possible.
Yeah, it's got to be vague, so they're not giving away necessarily trade secrets, but it's got to be specific enough so that if somebody does try and duplicate it when they finally come out with their product, they can see, hey, yeah, this was duplication. But it's very interesting reading patent documents.
And of course, this is all considering the possibility that Nintendo goes through with whatever's in this patent application. And this isn't just a patent application to cover their bases for another patent that might come out later that actually is the NX.
Right.
Exactly.
Because, like, what would you think Nintendo's ratio is? Like, for every patent that actually applies to a product, they must have, like, 10 patents that don't?
Yeah.
That they just had to file anyway?
Probably. Just to cover their intellectual property or, their designs.
Or any possible designs therein that they might, that might have considered.
Yeah, and I bet you, like if you have like 10 ideas for a console, you may think that like 5 of them are really good, but only one of them is marketable, right?
Yeah,
so you go with the marketable one, but you're probably still gonna patent some of those ideas from the other ideas, right? That just seems like smart business, and then they could use them later on, whether or not they use them now. But yeah.
Maybe I should just rename this episode Speculation Cast.
Yeah, this is
I think Uncharted territory works.
It does work. What was the other point you wanted to bring up, Matt? Uncharted territory was the directs, right?
No, this is Uncharted territory redo or Redux, whatever it is. I think that was it.
Okay.
Is it redo or Redux?
I think Redux.
I don't know. Redux is the...
It sounds cooler.
The American way, I would say.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I heard Redux because it's some game.
Yeah.
It just
Uh,
sounds cool.
It does
but
sound cool.
you were mentioning Uncharted territory, and I thought at one point you were talking about, now that Iwata's passed away, and what was it? Monday we got that big press release of all of those release dates, right?
Oh, yeah, that was in a team meeting.
Yeah. So it kind of seems like, I mean, Nintendo may still do another direct here soon because I think they need to do something, at least for Star Fox. I mean, we don't know anything about the game. I think you'd think there'd be like at least one more good trailer before the game comes out in November.
Uh,
I mean, and they may not do a direct. They may do just kind of like the American directs that they did, where they just have like Bill Trinen doing something silly and just showing trailers pretty much the whole time.
Hang on a sec. Let me interrupt you with something.
Yeah.
It's Redux. If you didn't hear that,
No.
I didn't hear it.
come on, phone.
It's Redux.
It's Redux.
Nice.
Haha.
We were right.
There, did you get it?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. You can continue. We could continue on with industry discussion after we solve a grammar discussion.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think that I mean, Nintendo as a company is definitely in a little bit of some uncharted territory with this kind of limbo of when are they going to announce their next president? Are they still going to continue to do some of the initiatives that Iwata set in place? I mean, so a lot of the leadership may be like, oh, these Nintendo Directs went on for a while. It's kind of cool, but we don't need to do it.
I hope not. I mean,
Um,
that was pretty much like Nintendo's biggest proof that they were still alive and wanted interaction with like their community.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. I think they lead the way on that. I mean, Sony and Microsoft, I think, have taken a lot of cues from that for some of their digital events that they've done leading up to E3 and stuff like that. But so I hope they still do it, but it's just interesting. I wonder if
Who knows? They may be trying to.
yeah.
And if they get rid of it, we'll take it over. We'll have pure Nintendo Direct.
There you go. You think?
Copyright, trademark,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Patent pending.
patent pending.
Do you think we'll hear about Nintendo's new president before the next direct?
No,
Why not?
because I think, and this is like really going off the top of my head here. I think that they have to elect the new president by election.
Yeah, probably.
So, and that's probably just going to take a while. And it's probably going to take, if they do continue with Nintendo Direct, I think it's going to take too long between when they need to elect it and when the next Nintendo Direct is. So, they probably won't elect president till like the end of, I say, this fiscal year.
Hmm.
That way they have everything's kind of starting all at once, like new president, new fiscal year.
Yeah.
You can really see where the line is. So that's not going to happen for a while, and that's like 6 months from now or something, right?
Yeah, their fiscal year ends March 31st.
Yeah, so they got a ways to go for the next fiscal year.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking that they're going to have a direct before the next president.
Yeah. Well. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of think that we might have the president announced before, just because I would think if you continue the Nintendo Direct, you would want to have the NCL president involved. You know what I mean?
If he wants to be involved, yeah, but I mean, if you have the acting president and he says he doesn't want to be involved in a Nintendo Direct, you can't shove him on stage anyway.
Yeah. I would think that would be like one of the key points of becoming president is the aptitude or the willingness to do stuff like that. I mean, he's got to be willing to get up in public at trade shows anyway. So. Yeah,
I mean, trade shows and conferences are one thing, and like the directs are another thing. I mean, I think Iwata chose to be involved and to spearhead that thing.
Yeah.
I think if any pressures are going to come from the next president to also do that, it's going to be because Iwata did it. But at the same time, they might not do it because of Iwata. They're like,
That's
oh, the
true.
Nintendo Directs were his thing, and I don't want to like be, Iwata's replacement or,
Right. Well, then
stuff.
then that brings up why even do Nintendo Directs? Just release. They've got a YouTube channel. Just release the trailers. Just have a chunk of trailers that come out on a day. Boom.
Right, but they can have other speakers that just aren't the president of Nintendo.
Yeah. I don't know. Like to me, then it's not a Nintendo Direct. But
We've had Nintendo Directs without Iwata before, right?
oh yeah, but you still have like Reggie in there, or I mean, what was that Bill Trinan one where he did the Tomodachi Life? Was it only him, or was I think it was Reggie?
Yeah, that was so weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was just Bill Trinan, or Bill Trinan was like the main star anyway.
Yeah. So, I mean, they could still do stuff like that, but
Right.
those never felt like Nintendo Directs. Nintendo Directs are official, come straight from the source and have a lot of big stuff in it. Those were like I would consider it like a Nintendo Direct Mini, where it's like even the ones where they didn't even have a Nintendo crew in there, where they did like Monster Hunter specific ones in Japan, where they had like Capcom people doing it the whole time. They had some other ones where they were kind of developer specific ones, which is totally fine. But,
Right. Yeah, like a Xenoblade Direct, we had that.
yeah, but I would still miss that coming directly from the president of Nintendo.
Yeah.
But
I think even if the president does, like the new president does do it, it might not be for a while anyway, because he's got to get into his role first. Like not only does he have to get used to the workload of the president, but he's also probably got to catch up on a lot of stuff that Nintendo needed to catch up on without a president.
yeah, that's true.
I still hold on to that. They're gonna reinvent the Nintendo Direct a little bit, because to me that just feels like it was kind of like a personal thing that Iwata did.
Yeah.
So I would almost feel wrong to see somebody else take a spot. I'm not sure how their sentiments would be on that, but I know personally for me it would just be strange.
I think it'd be strange if the new guy came up there, or gal. I mean, equal opportunity here.
Mm-hmm.
If the new person kind of came up and they said Nintendo, and then they went directly like that, I think that might be weird because that's just too much Iwata.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, they would have to like at least honor him or like mention him like, hey, I'm not, we're doing this, to continue Iwata's legacy and bringing things directly to you. So something where they're self-diminishing themselves, but showing what Iwata had led.
Just to make it clear that obviously he was very important to not only people in the industry but to us as like fans,
Yeah.
And that was clearly demonstrated with all like the fan art and outpouring of support.
Oh yeah.
Once he passed, so
yeah.
That's why I think if they're gonna do something, it should be a little different, just to kind of, let that honor him, let that be his thing that he started and that he did.
Yeah, that's true.
well, if that's the case, then Nintendo still needs to find a way to directly communicate with its community and stay active.
Mm-hmm.
They will. It just takes time.
Yep.
A very long time because we got to find a new president and blah blah blah. And all
I do hope that, regardless whether it's a new president first or a Nintendo Direct first, I do hope, like in September, we hear something. Like I think they usually do a Direct around September, mid to late September or something. So hopefully there's something planned there because that's kind of like fall is kind of officially starting. Does fall start the end of September?
I have no idea. I think so.
Yeah.
Like the 20th?
Because summer officially starts like June 20. July, August, September, yeah, that's 3 months. So yeah, September 20 would be like official start of fall. So yeah, they usually do something like that leading into the fall season. For
September 23rd.
There you go. So hopefully, regardless of Nintendo's president or not, we should at least get some sort of... If they do a Nintendo Direct, traditional or otherwise, we should have something next month, I would imagine. Because it's been long enough since E3.
Yeah, Nintendo's been silent too long.
Mm-hmm.
They need to let people know that they're still going.
We want more announcements. We will not be satisfied.
We want some announcements.
Yes. Especially Star Fox.
Keep our fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Announcements not in a list form.
Yes, yeah, not in a typed up listing.
Anyway, without demand, I think we will end this episode of the podcast.
Yes.
So I want to thank anybody who is watching for watching us, any listeners for listening to us. And I'd like to thank Alex and Justin for joining me.
No problem.
Always a good time.
And if you would like to get in touch with us, if you would like to ask a question to our podcast, you can always email us at podcast@purenintendo.com. You can always leave a comment below any Koopa Kast posting that we posted that week. So this week, say all of a sudden it's Tuesday. We turn back time. Now it's Tuesday. And the Koopa Kast is tomorrow. And you want to leave a question for us, talking about, Nintendo's Uncharted territory. You can leave that below. Purenintendo.com, look for the posting, there it is, boom, click it, there you go. Alright, if you'd like to follow us on Twitter, we each have our Twitter handles below our very video. If you're listening to the audio version, I am at PurelyMatt, Justin is at PurelyJustin, and Alex is at Alex Schramke?
Schramke, yeah. Would you like me to spell that for you?
SCHRAMKE.
You got it, dude.
Nailed it.
Thank you. I learned all. I like to thank reading for that.
Hooked on phonics. It worked for me.
School worked for me, not hooked on phonics. Okay, whoa. We're sliding back. So, thank you all for listening, watching, however you consumed it. Awesome. And for those of you listening on iTunes, we'd like to thank you for listening. Again, the Koopa Kast comes on every other Thursday for iTunes. And with that, we will see you later.
See you, everyone.
Good night, everybody.